Hey everybody, Robert Dunt, ArtTop10.com. Here we are strolling around, well, just near Aldgate East Station, off to the Whitechapel Gallery for a press view. So let's go inside, everybody, and let's see what's happening. Okay everybody, so we're inside the exhibition, having a little stroll around. Very interesting. So as the info on the wall says, the exhibition surveys how the artist's studios evolved across a century and around the world. It conceives the studio in two ways. The public studio may be a backdrop for the solo artist to present their persona. It may be a space for collaboration and installation on a stage set. In the private studio, relations are staged between the artist and sitter. It is a space where the artist can take refuge, reflect, experiment, and even cannibalise the studio itself. And it goes on to say the show presents work of art that feature the studio's subject, created by a global roster of artists, documentation of studios by important photographers and filmmakers, and recreations that evoke a spatial and material experience of studio corners. I had a quick little stroll around already, just trying to get the vibe. It actually looks really cool, basically. It's got an intriguing exhibition. So this is Louise Bourgeois. That doesn't really seem to be a studio thing. Let's get into it a bit more. So, Anthony Greenry, Jasper Johns, Louise Brice. Let's get over here, because once we get over here, we're beginning to get into these bits. There you go. You've got Matisse chilling in his studio there, and then of course you've got crazy Picasso dancing. He used to be dancing around the carpet by the look of it. But nothing like Picasso dancing in a carpet, is there? Actually, just genuinely seem to be dancing in a carpet. I love those paintings, but yeah, look at that. He lives in a kind of mad chateau at this point. He's got his corduroy trousers on, I like those. Corduroy trousers, he must have been doing those sort of ceramic bowls. But I mean, those images are always incredibly evocative of Picasso in that kind of mad studio environment. There's Giacometti in his studio. There's Giacometti's studio pictures are always good, aren't they? You always get a sense of him in that miserable, like, monk kind of cell. And there's Giacometti down there painting someone. His love for paintings. Actually quite interesting when you think about it like that. But Giacometti had that weird kind of monk thing going on in his place, whereas Picasso's there like a mad actor prancing about like a maniac. And you've got a real different vibe of them. There's Jackson Pollock in his studio. Look at it, covered in sort of madness and mess. The studios, I guess, are actually really evocative of the people. And there's Lucian Freud. Doing a really weird manoeuvre there. Not entirely sure what he's doing. Appears to have staged a sort of falling over moment of madness. So the studio's kind of a weird one as well. That like sort of painted door on the edge of the whole thing. And there's Francis Bacon up there, looking purposefully miserable. In his studio, which was just a room in a house, wasn't it? And it always makes me laugh, these photos. They're really, really concentrating on that kind of future image, I'm sure they are. There's Brice galloping about in his studio. It's amazing how many of the studios just looks like barren, isn't it? I mean, you've got that barren vibe of Lucian Freud, barren vibe of Francis Bacon, barren vibe of Giacometti. You almost don't want to be an artist if you look at all this. It just looks slightly miserable, sitting in those cold rooms. Whereas Picasso just looks like he's having fun, laughing it up. Paintings of what it's like to be in the studio. Intriguing. Come on down here, get a bit more. Let's see what's down here. We've got Carlo Schiele, we'll just glide past those. It's more like things she created in the studio. And that's that film of Jackson Pollock. After he made this film, obviously, he got sort of, because he'd given up drinking, he made this film and really felt that it kind of blew away his secrecy and mystique. started drinking as soon as it finished and never really recovered, which is a bit of a shocker, isn't it? I didn't know he had that string lying around. Sorry, it's got such obsessed with this juxtaposition video. So it's got pieces of a variety of different things. It's collaging together on there. I have to go back and look at that. Right, so let's go over here. I'm not actually sure. Oh, we've got a little video in here. Paul McCarthy. For little glimpse.
Pollock, but only little drawings. We store them now.
And you're living here in California now, or?
In Santa Monica.
Everybody's just trying to be very cool with their weird noses.
And you have most of your, mostly paintings or sculpture?
It's quite funny. Okay, yeah, I mean, his studio is his performance place, really, isn't it? Kind of really disturbing, these videos. Just don't really enjoy watching them, but I guess that's part of the vibe of it. Just kind of strangely unnerving. Little pictures here, William Troy. This big picture of this. I can't quite work out if this is a real or a kind of fake studio. But it's intriguing. It's very it's nothing like the other kind of miserable. He's a gifted amateur. Graham appears as a mid-century painter in a modernist interior. Yeah, it's faked up. It includes a sound system inspired by Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion and the art books that influenced a generation. His canvas rests on newspapers, stories on the Soviet, US Cold War and labour activism. He recalls the colour-filled paintings of Maurice Louis, who, as Graham recounts, made his very large paintings at home in the dining alcove of a very small Baltimore bungalow. He describes this interior as the Playboy Mansion of studios. It represented a male professional trying his hand at some pouring paintings on the premise. Correct, as it turns out, that anyone can do this. Yeah, so I'd say it's a kind of, it's a fabrication of what people probably think artist studios are like. A bit of paper laid on the floor before you do your colour-filled paintings, bit of art book lying around, sort of how people imagine the studios are as opposed to reality, which is otherwise Francis Bacon one's looking much more miserable. Nikhil Chopra. For the 2015 Havana Biennial, Chopra lived in a cage on the Plaza de Armas on public view, painting what he saw through the bars. He took on the persona of a glamorous American woman of colour, the kind of performer who in the 1950s would be termed a black pearl. After 60 hours, local people led him out of the cage in a celebratory parade. The work has been described as an allegory on Cuba's history, as a Spanish colony, a playground for the rich, the site of revolution and of embargoed isolation. The studio cage also offered passers-by a ringside view of the creative process. Pretty sure Tracy Emin did something like that as well. But, a funky little picture down there. So there you go, studio with cage, and performance cage, I suppose. What does that say to you about the artist studio? I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't glamorise being an artist, does it? Kind of. It is intriguing. The show's not quite what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more sort of just showing the studios, but actually it's kind of more intriguing in a way. I suppose it's showing you how the studio's been used in different ways. This unknown female artist from Chile. These are Arbeleras embroideries produced by workshops that took place illegally behind closed doors during the Pinochet dictatorship. Women from shanty towns used domestic craft activity to document the injustice of the regime. Some used the very clothes of those who had been imprisoned or disappeared. Their collective name gave the Appellaries a protective anonymity, enabling them to smuggle and sell their works internationally to NGOs, with the help of the Catholic Church, intriguingly enough, to raise money and consciousness. They are an expression of mourning, protest and resistance. Such little quiet, as it were, pretty things when you look at them, but then if you look closely you notice you've got much more like these sort of people attacking with baton. This is like a sort of little mini mock-up of Vanessa Bell, Duncan Grant, 3-panel hinge screen, paint on paper on board, and a chimney piece. Kind of funky these days. I mean, basically how Duncan Grant and Vanessa Bell would have kind of decorated their own house. So in a way, even their living space became a kind of studio for themselves. And we're coming up here to studio as installation, the public studio. This is like a mock-up of Matisse's house. Quite interesting actually, they had all those patterned things just chilling on the walls. Well, I guess those almost worked as the patterns to the background of his painting. What does it say? The public, and the studio's installation. Yeah, so I suppose his claim is he's been building up kind of like installation, like place in his home, in his studio, which is then going to work with. It's interesting, yeah, it's almost like his installation, almost a bit like a sort of backdrop. That's still Kirkshaw's studio corner. Yeah, so it is. And then over here from Edward Krasinski, Poland, fragment of a door with handle, blue adhesive tape. So one assumes this would have been lurking in the gallery. Oh, sorry, in his studio. Krasinski sought to unite art and life using the colours white and blue. From 1968 began to scotch tape a blue horizontal line from his minimalist sculptures and images to encompass a room, other works of art, or entire landscape. This door comes from a studio apartment in a high-rise in Warsaw. The Polish word for blue is niebieski, derived from the word niebo for both sky and heaven. Interesting, kind of cool. It's like it's kind of escaping out of his work into his room. Right, better go around here a bit faster before the battery runs out. Alright, check the so these are more. We're still in. Well, maybe we are still in the studio's installation, I'm assuming. It's quite interesting. Shadi Garderian Mirage, intriguing. I wish there was more about that. I could understand. Actually, weirdly fascinating. Look at the whole pictures. They don't look quite the right size, do they? Got a strange size to them. Looks like a sort of miniaturized existence in these. Oh, and of course, holding the can of Pepsi. Sort of, you've got that contrast. Going on around here. These are from India. I wish I knew more about those as well. Going on around here. Coming back to Tracy Emin. Oh, this is, sorry, the studio stage set, is it? Sorry. Tracy Emin, when she did that thing. I think this is where she, there's nothing to talk about it, but I think that's where she sat around inside a room, just making things. I'm not sure, I'm not entirely sure actually about that. Funky cabinets. That's cool. Like that little pan with the film on it. Kind of funky. Oh, fantastic. Bit of Velvet Underground here. Silver Factory. Silver Factory was converted from an abandoned hat factory in Manhattan by Andy Warhol and Billy Nane, who covered the 30 by 15 metre space in silver foil. Its surface illuminated and reflected Warhol and his collaborators. Embracing its industrial ethos, Warhol used reprographic mediums like print and photography to mass-produce art. Improvised and glamorous, utilitarian and theatrical. The space was animated by drag queens, musicians like the Velvet Underground, socialites and film stars who, with Warhol, created paintings, movies, live music and happenings captured by young photographers such as Stephen Shaw. Nice classic pictures of the Velvet Underground there. It's lovely, isn't it? More of them there. Oh, nice. You've got a little sort of mini recreation of the silver stuff here. Funky. Man, it would have been actually quite weird to really begin all that silver stuff. So cool. Just to imagine you were there. The silver legs, they're good as well. There's a Velvet Underground again. It's nice, it's been so cool. If you've been there, it was the whole thing silver, no, just bits of it. Oh, but like here, they silvered the pipes. Kind of funky, I like it. I like it very much. Wolfgang Tillmans. It's quite funny. After Party, is that his? No idea if that really is his studio or not, but it's a classic picture of a studio after a party. Very cool. Cindy Sherman. She really just uses her studio to do her things. Right, let's head on upstairs, see what we can find up there. Exhibition continues. Here we go. Pretty good so far, actually. A lot to reflect on. We've got here a quick Martha Rosier, Semiotics of the Kitchen, 1975. That's quite cool, actually. It's using the different things in the kitchen. Black and white. Sound 6 minutes. Quite funny. Well, I like it. Right, anyway, let's go up here. See what we find. Intriguing. Secret life of the studio, this is. Oh, here we go. Now, Andrew Grassi taught me at City and Guilds and London Art School. And these are Studio Proposal 2, Studio Proposal 5, Studio Proposal 6, and Studio Proposal 1. I guess these are meant to be. That's quite interesting because I've actually been to a studio and visited him there. I can't remember exactly what it looked like from the photos because he just does these very tiny paintings, egg tempera on paper. Yeah. He really just works at a desk. Actually, really interesting. So these must be. Yeah, there must be fantasy visions. Studio Proposal, I'm guessing, maybe of how he could have a studio. Got the same cabinet in each one. And this would be like, should you decide to be more of an abstract artist. That's like before you've started. And this one's cool, this one. What I love about this one, it actually reminds me more of like a sort of Blofeld James Bond 007 picture. You've almost got like a sort of world domination picture in the background. Very cool. Interesting. What is this room again? This room is, oh yeah, the secret life of the studio. Wilhelmina Barnes Graham. Interesting. I always find her quite interesting because I always think, when you look at her paintings, they're done much tighter than things like Ben Nicholson that they're similar to. And the Ben Nicholson ones are kind of, their lack of tightness improves them really. Whereas these are too tight. I mean, this one is. Did read another review, somebody else saying it was almost too tight, but it's intriguing. Where's the blue? I can't help feeling there should be some blue apart from this little blob on the palette. Wandering through here. Oh, Paul Winstanley. I'm absolutely certain I've got a book by him showing, can't help, which is these art, I think these are art schools, yeah. Art school series of paintings. Oh, paintings. Photos. Represents a sustained homage to the fast disappearing British institution, the art school. Arising from an extensive series of photographs taken by the artist, the paintings function as a procession of empty spaces. The meticulously composed photographs were taken in the summer months at the end of the school year, emptied of work, and the artist long graduated. The spaces are newly whitewashed, ready for the next year's aspiring students. I love those sort of free sections at the top. These are Alina's Skoknau, Jonathan Silver prints and collage. All good. Right, let's head on through here. Exhibition continues. Let's keep going. See what we discover. Right. Whoa, where have we got to? Oh, you've got a bit of Frank Albert. actually with his... Oh, I'd like to see a picture of Albark's studio in all honesty. Jim in the studio. Oh, I see there are people in the studio, but obviously you get that massive sense of those hunks of paint. Lucian Freud, David and Ellie, a little dog there. He liked his animals, didn't he? Dog's really cool. I guess, yeah, as you say, Lucian Freud was always doing stuff in his studio. What's this? Lucian Freud. Is that him as well? That artist studio with a study for large interior after Watteau. Actually really interesting, that picture. One of the most interesting things so far. Fascinating to think he just did that little weird picture of his studio. It's so beautiful. It's just so simple and uncomplicated like everything else. Not massively heavily painted, but just gives a nice little snapshot of his world. Quite fascinating actually. Right, oh, this is the intimate studio, the section that we're looking at. David Dawson, then we come up Francis Bacon, so I suppose talking about how the studio was used to do these intimate portraits of people. I think he always used photos. What is this here? Is this, hang on, whose studio is this? Perry Ogden, the studio of Francis Bacon at 7 Regent Mews. That is weird, because I had a feeling it was, but I didn't think for a second it would be so colourful. You can almost be forgiven for thinking that was going to be the studio of St. Francis or some abstract artist. And really bizarre, actually. Quite intriguing. I always find these things about Francis Bacon quite intriguing. It never seems to be quite as miserable as you think he's going to be. Oh yeah, this is quite nice actually. You've got sort of mock-up of these, like the photos he'd have used all the time, so they're quite cool. A little vibe of all these photos he used for the pictures. Right, we're coming around here. Florence Henri, Francesca Woodman. A woman is a mirror for a man. On around here, Francesca Woodman again. I suppose so, she was just using her studio. And the mirror coming around here. Still got quite a lot to go. Francis Starr. I do love these pictures Picasso would do of his studio. So I mean, this is a big thing, isn't it, for artists just to paint their studio? A really big thing. And I think people forget. I remember interviewing the artist Fred Cooming years ago. He said it took him years to realise he could just paint his studio, and that would be a fantastic subject. But they're the life of the studio. So I've got a bit more here, Giacometti. It's obviously doing a nice, I like when people paint their studios. I'm around here. Who's this? Oh, I know it is Lisa Milroy, isn't it? Oh, Tracy Emin, that's quite interesting as well. I love these little weird sort of sketchy studio pictures, they're so cool. Actually really like, that's the best Tracy Emin I've seen, or one of them. Just so fascinating, they're so lacking in the normal complications. This is a fascinating little Egon Schiele as well, just little drawing of his studio. I love these, they're so incidental, but they're so cool. They're just so, they communicate so much, possibly so much more than the more complicated things that have got a harder narrative to them. Oh wow, look at this. These are cool as well. I don't quite know what this is. Some of them things haven't got the info on them yet. But it is kind of cool. I like this. Look at that beautiful sort of. This must be Maud Lewis, I think. But kind of a cool, crazy sort of beautifully decorated building. Really interesting. Moving on around here. Well, these are quite interesting. Anwar Jalal Shima, India. I like that. What is this? This is the studio's laboratory. I like that. I love the idea of the studio where you're sort of doing crazy things. I really like these little pictures actually. Kind of funky. So much stuff like Indian art we just don't really know enough about. Around here. Oh, that's quite interesting studio, look at that. Just loads and loads of mad, are they books? I can't tell. I think they're primarily books. There's a kind of funky picture of Henry Moore chilling in his studio. I actually love these little teeny tiny ones. I think these teeny ones are absolutely brilliant. Really better than the big ones. Really funky. But I love it. He's made a kind of mad Mexican kind of Aztec vibe in his studio with all these little crazy little sculptures that are kind of rather sweet and amorphic. Oh, there's Barbara Hepburn, fantastic. I'm in her studio. If you haven't been to St Ives and seen her studio, you've got to go there because it's absolutely extraordinary. It's so beautiful and white. And then the whole garden is like a mad garden where you've got all these sculptures in it. Absolutely stunning. Look at these crazy things, and these all have such a vibe of the sea when you're there. You can feel that kind of movement of the sea spinning through these things. But it's absolutely, absolutely stunning. Her studio. Oh, that garden, as it were. But it's just like a little townhouse in St Ives. Madly enough. But then it's got this beautiful garden inside with all the sculptures in it. Got huge sculptures, and it makes you feel like you're sort of about to be abducted by aliens. And these aliens have landed with these sculptures in a magical place. She used to go up onto the moors in St Ives and just sort of lie on the stones like they were magic, just sort of getting power from them. Brilliant. Used her right hand to carve, so she said her left hand was the sensitive one that touched things because it wasn't so bashed. There we are, Helen Frankenthaler, nice bit of painting there. Don't remember having seen many of these in real life. Well, I'm sure loads of people have, but quite much more liquidy than I'd have thought. Intriguing. Down here, Ian Wallace. These must be Robert Rauschenberg. Always like a bit of Robert Rauschenberg. Kind of funky stuff here. And we have got a bit of a funky studio here. Shame to say, I'm not quite sure who's it going to be. I see Mateo Lopez. No, I think these must be Mateo Lopez. I'm actually not sure who the studio is meant to be. Or this one here. I'll try and work it out in a minute. Kind of like this. That's actually a really cool creation. You've still got more of this. Is that a dog? Nothing like a dog in your studio. I have a bird as well. Jeffrey, my dog, our dog, does sit in the studio all the time, sometimes choose the paintings. Well, I think this one over here, been bought by the Sharjah Foundation, Hassan Sharif, so I think that is actually a, what would you say, a real recreation of the studio. Anyway, it's kind of funky last room. I'm still not quite sure if they're real or fictional, these studios, but hey, that's part of the fun. I think this one might be fictional. Anyway, whatever it is, it's an intriguing, fascinating exhibition. Really, really worth coming to see, particularly like the Andrew Grassi bits and the Duncan Grant, Vanessa Bell bit. Thoroughly encourage you to come and see it. It does make you think about it, and you just can't help loving Picasso dancing around in his carpet, enjoying himself in the studio. That's kind of how we all envisage the artist prancing around in the studio, enjoying himself, or how you want to be in the studio. Anyway, fascinating exhibition, absolutely worth coming to. As ever, please like, subscribe, makes such a massive difference. And subscribe to this arttop10.com and my other channel, Travel Dog. Okay, au revoir, Darfiz, ciao, auf Wiedersehen, bye bye, see you all soon.